and welcome to TheAIbumMan, and today we're going to be talking about Mansion Songs by Howlin Rain. Now, I know this is going to be an album a lot of people probably won't have heard of and might not be that interested in, but bear with me and please do give Howlin Rain a go. So, for those who don't know, to me, I think they're a really interesting band. I discovered them in 2012 with the album The Russian Riot, which was produced by famed producer Rick Rubin, who you probably know from Metallica's Death Magnetic, Black Sabbath's 13, ZZ Top's La Futura in recent times, and he's done a lot of work with a lot of highly prolific artists, and Howlin Rain were signed to Rick Rubin's label. That album was very much a classic rock-style album, epic in its scope and very ambitious, and it was one of the best albums of the year. It was definitely in my top 25 of 2012, I can't remember whereabouts, but I know I put it in there when I did that video. Their classic rock stylings with the incredibly soulful and immensely powerful voice of Ethan Miller, driving through hard-hitting, up-tempo rock songs with sort of a Rolling Stones energy to them, but yet also seamlessly blending psychedelia and fuzzy, heavy blues to create this sort of West Coast of the States sounding album that's also wonderfully diverse, melodic and engaging. So of course, I was very excited to see where they go next. To me, they're just one of those bands that with another successful album, they really could go somewhere and pick up some momentum. I think Ethan Miller has so much talent. Though they did part ways with Rick Rubin in 2015, and on Mansion Songs, we find a fairly different band. This album is actually the first in what apparently is going to be a trilogy, so that'd be quite interesting. And the sound described by the press release, prepare yourself for this, as made of cigarette ash and swollen moons, salt air and the eggshell light that comes just before the dawn. That's a pretty damn cool description of an album in a press release. I haven't seen a description that good for a very, very long time. But what does this actually mean in not ridiculous terms? It basically means that we find frontman and sole permanent member Ethan Miller stripping back his sound, taking away the 70s classic rock edge and creating something more personal and introspective. An album that reflects, to me, a darkness, but also a change of attitudes. And I also possibly could say veering into some more experimental territory, which they certainly did with Russian Wilds, but that was more in, I would say, a psychedelic direction, whereas here it's difficult to describe. We'll certainly get into the experimentation. Let's leave it at that for this moment in time. Where to start? Well, we'll start with the opener and the lead single, Big Red Moon. And this one gives you a slightly false impression of the album, I may say, and what to expect from it, though it certainly does hint towards what you get in the rest of the album. This begins with a decently sized a cappella section, which I really did not expect. And Miller definitely demonstrates his poetic skills and delivered in a very self-assured manner. And lyrics are one of his greatest strengths. This guy can write very, very strong lyricism. He's clearly talented in the literary department and clearly very well read. There's a lot of references across his music to pieces of literature and poems. But when the music does kick in, you have a fuzzy slide guitar, this sort of big, warm, welcoming, southern-sounding 70s rock, not too far away from like a classic Skynyrd song, I may dare say, wrapped in dirty, swampy tones. It's very catchy, very soulful, and not too surprising a single from Howlin Rain. A stunning song playing to Miller's strengths, but not necessarily what the rest of the album has in store. I'm going to split my discussion of this album into really the three different sides and different faces I personally feel that this album has. On one side, we have the catchy rock songs like Big Red Moon and Meet Me in the Wheat, which is in a similar vein to Big Red Moon, but with sort of loud cries of hallelujah and a roaring cacophony of sounds present in the chorus, some more slide guitars that really propel the song. And the rest of the time, it's a mellow affair with acoustic choruses, yet again with that sort of southern tinge. It's definitely across this album, big emphasis on slide guitar, but also on Ethan's soulful vocal delivery. The verses on this song in particular feel laid back, but then you have this sort of juxtaposition, the choruses that feel urgent, of almost screaming vocals at time, and Miller certainly can put his voice for the ringer. When he decides to shout or bellow, he goes for it. I don't know how he doesn't just tear apart his vocals with some of the delivery he goes for. And this, to me, is when the album is at its absolute best, when it delivers these deliciously upbeat, fuzzy, musically diverse songs. We then have this second side to the album, which is the far more reflective, mellower, and altogether softer side. I personally find this to be more hit or miss. It certainly works wonders with a song like Lucy Fairchild, a beautiful piano melody which slowly blows through the song like a gentle wind on a sunny day, with only Miller's tender, delicate and carefully chosen lyrics adorning the top of this song. And it builds gradually, and some may say it's a bit drawn out, but I do find this ballad to be emotionally engaging throughout. Miller's voice just captivates you, unable to move as slowly more and more instruments start to wander into the mix: violin, slide guitar, percussion, until it swells to a climax. Maybe not with the chaos of the climax you'd find in Russian Wilds, but with a deft, careful hand and a soothing arrangement. This is a double-edged sword though, because it can also feel stagnant on other parts of the album, such as the slow, meandering Restless, which makes you kind of restless listening to it, if I'm going to make such an awful quip as that. And it does move at such a slow pace across its 5 minutes that I can't help but feel it's a bit tiresome. I mean, I do enjoy a good slow atmospheric song. For example, some of the stuff that Sigur Rós do, slow atmospheric, that works great. Here, I feel it kind of drags, failing to lead to anywhere that's remotely satisfying, and it definitely could have been cut at least a fair bit shorter. And then the third side of the album is the more experimental, the more peculiar side of the album. Take the final track, Ceiling Fan, with its stream of consciousness and vocal delivery in the verses, which is also delivered in not quite a spoken word, more sort of a mumbling spoken word way, I would say, delving into the depths and the recesses of Miller's mind, to the feeling that almost you're traversing through a James Joyce novel in the way it's delivered, with various places and figures, things and emotions described with Dylan-esque sensibility, as who is actually referenced in the song as well, so apt comparison, I suppose. And then this is contrasted with a fairly standard, gentle, harmonised chorus. I definitely give him props for being as unique as he is on this track, and building to these disturbing violin sounds and noises, rising for the crescendo. I do find it an interesting piece. I just can't say that I find it his greatest work, or in particular, an ideal album closer. It definitely leaves you hanging and feeling like there should have been just something a bit more to the album. The odd tones and delivery of Wild Bush, I would also say, fit in this sort of experimentation vein, while more typical instrumentation is used, and the chorus is not too far from what you'd expect from a Howlin Rain album. Very catchy, bright, kind of upbeat. The verse features these quieter, restrained vocals before suddenly leaping to the chorus, taking you a bit by surprise, and the electric guitar appears to sort of squawk and squeak in the backdrop, giving the song its definitely distinct sound. As much as I really did enjoy my time with Mansion songs, I just can't say that it made me as excited or as captivated as the Russian Wilds did back in 2012. And still, when I listened to the Russian Wilds, there was that buzz, energy, magic in its classic rocky, fuzzy, bluesy, psyche tones. And I just don't quite feel that same way with Mansion songs. Sure, it's an accomplished piece, and sure, it feels like a logical progression for the band, focusing more on acoustic guitars and heartfelt emotion over bombastic distortion and 70s arena rock. But it lacks that wow factor, that oomph, that spark and energy. If Russian Wilds was a rainbow of colours and sounds, this just feels more a little washed out. The rain's fallen and the colours have just thinned a bit. They're still there at times, but washing away. But not by accident. I respect what Miller's decided to do here. He's decided to go away from the sound people expected him to follow it up with. This is very calculated. This is what he wanted to achieve. And I look forward very much to what's in store of the rest of the trilogy. And I suppose that's why it's as short as it is, only 8 tracks, none of which are massively long. It just isn't quite as compelling as Rush and Wilds. I still do enjoy this a lot. There's some fantastic moments, and this is definitely going to be one of the better classic rock inspired albums of 2015. 7.25 out of 10. This has been The Album Man. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.